Hey there. Welcome to Getting to Know. It's a show where you get to know more about people I think are interesting, and maybe you will too. If you want to keep up and see me stream live, you can follow my Twitch right here, or you can tell me to go fuck myself. Thank you. Thanks for coming on today, Anita. I appreciate you
Thanks
being
for the
here.
invite.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of my show before. Probably haven't.
I checked you out briefly when you asked me. I was like, "Who's this? What's going on?"
Yeah.
Yeah, what does he do?
Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, I saw a little bit on live stream fails.
Oh,
Saw
yeah.
a few clips here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty rare that like I think the ones that I could think of are like with Austin. Who else? Who did you see that you like remembered or something like that?
I'm bad with names.
Yeah, you're bad with names.
So bad.
Anita, how long have you been on Twitch for?
2 years.
2 years?
Uh-huh.
Have you? When did you like start to see like your the rise of your like career? When did you like realize that you could turn this into a career?
So technically the rise in my stream was about a month or two in, but the point where I quit my day job and was like, okay, maybe I can just do this full time. I'd already been doing it full time for a year. I rented an office that I wasn't making use of because I stopped going for a year because I figured any minute now they're all gonna get bored of me. Like any minute now it's gonna get old, sort of thing. And it just didn't. And I'm just like, okay, so here I am.
Did you ever think that you'd be doing this? Like, was this like slated, or how did you how did you introduce yourself to Twitch originally?
Well, I have tits. It's content.
Sorry, forgive me for laughing. I know you have a good sense of humor, but like when we were playing Among Us, you told me to fuck myself like 10 times, and I was like, well, maybe I should actually try it sometime. I was like, because you might have convinced me. But anyways, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
You're welcome. What was the question again?
The question was how did you get introduced to Twitch originally?
So I'd been really enjoying Overwatch because I got to play with people and keep my condition a secret because of push to talk. It was great. So people met me before my condition, and it meant that my friendships felt more genuine. I didn't feel like a party trick anymore, and I felt respected, and it was nice. So I found this guy. He, after a few matches of being put together over and over, he went, "I have a confession. I'm a streamer." I was like, "What's that? I don't care." And after one of the matches, I followed his link, and they were like, "This is either a soundboard, a voice actor, or a Twitch streamer." And they were Googling my name. They were trying to find me. They're like, "Where is she?" And he was like, "No, don't do that. I know what you'll do. She'll be like some hot girl, and you'll all leave me, and you'll go and be on her stream. Stop it." And they were like, "Don't worry, dude. We're stuck with you." And it was like this cute little thing going on between them. And I was like, well, if this is a passive, if I behave in a way just naturally that, comes across like this, maybe I should give it a go. And now I'm all three of those things, and it's pretty darn awesome. So I gave it a go, and at first I looked at Twitch and I was like, this is weird. Who's Monica S? And why does everyone keep talking about it? Like, I was so confused and boomer about it. And so like I didn't really give it a go, but I was like, oh yeah, because I started running out of room. I ended up maxing out my friends list on Blizzard, and everyone was like, can we play together? And I didn't have room. There was only 6 slots in the game. So it was a way to socialize beyond the scope of my game. It was a way for people to see when there was an opening and come and hang with me. I never thought it would be anything more. In fact, I thought I'd be banned after a couple of weeks. Yeah, because of my tics.
When were you diagnosed with Tourette's? Are you diagnosed with Tourette's? How does that work? I'm so ignorant about it. Sorry.
It's okay. Fuck off. You bit. Sorry. I got diagnosed when I was 22, but I didn't actually receive any diagnosis letters. So I did all the testing and they confirmed it then, but they didn't let me know about it until I was about 26, 27, because the doctors here are really bad. So, but it was really freeing, and I was really grateful because I'd been having symptoms my whole life and no explanation for my behavior. And it was really socially inhibiting. It was really like difficult to get by. It stopped me being able to have an education because, the school didn't work out. And so when I had that when I had that diagnosis, I just started getting out in the world and being less ashamed because I could explain what was going on
Yeah.
finally.
Yeah. You could define what.
Mhm.
So God, is it inappropriate to ask like how old you are now?
I'm 30.
30? Yeah, me too, girl. Here, I'm gonna give you a high five, but it's gonna be delayed. That's for being 30. Boom.
I don't like you. You're a fish.
I'm a fish. Wait, so you're in the UK, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and you're like you born there? What's your ethnicity?
I was born in the UK. I was raised in the UK. I never left the UK until I had money for the first time in my life because there are simps.
Wait, are you a simp farmer, Anita?
No, I actually really heavily shame simps,
Yeah.
and yet they still keep coming back. It's I don't understand it. Here we are.
I have a few simps too. They're very dirty towards they can be a little aggressive or a little aggressive.
Yeah,
So
I know the feeling.
yeah, yeah. But it's been wild for you lately though. So you've seen I think like a pretty big increase in your channel in the past year or so, right? Like I've seen you in some of the weirdest places on the internet. Like unironically, just randomly. Like at the end of a video, I'll see like a Sweet Anita clip. And it's just like, what the hell is Anita doing at the end of the video? You know,
I don't know. What are these videos? I
no,
mean,
like so like I a few of the people that I know like would like they'll do research on you, right? And they'll be like, okay, so what's going on with Anita? What does she do? And you've been featured in like all these different articles, you've been like talked about endlessly, you know, and then for some reason there's like say there's like a really weird fucking video on the internet of like something horrible happening. At the end of it, it's like a Sweet Anita clip. It's the weirdest thing in the fucking world.
wow. Well,
Yeah.
this is news to me. Huh.
Yeah. Sorry, I said I didn't mean the one to tell you, but it blew me away. I was like, I just saw the most fucked up thing in the world happen, and then at the end of that is you saying like, "Go fuck yourself." Like that's literally what it was like. It was like out of this world. Yeah, maybe I'll
Yeah.
send you one so you can see it. It's
Sure. I'm really curious now. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I am everywhere. I'm even on Pornhub, and I've never shot a single porn video in my life.
Really?
But oh yeah, people have a tick fetish. They put my shit up on the on Pornhub, and also I used to have a lot of fap attack ticks, which is where I would make a gesture as if I'm masturbating, but I'm a dude.
Yeah.
And people would clip that and be really turned on by it and stuff. It was really creepy. Yeah. So even though I've never made a single bit of porn or sexual content in my life, I have like hundreds of thousands of views on Pornhub.
What the fuck? You have a massive following on Pornhub and you don't do any of that? That's crazy. I did not know. People fetishize some of the most interesting things, huh? Yeah. So is it I have to ask because I'm curious, and again, can you tell me a little bit about Tourette's, like your definition of Tourette's, what it's like?
So it's not fully understood, but it's characterized by an overproduction of dopamine and serotonin in the brain and a miscommunication between your nervous system and your brain. And these misfirings can cause tics, and they can be written, they can be spoken, or they can be physical. And quite often people only have one type of tic or they have two types of tic, but I have all three of those. Yeah, and it can present in early childhood, but it can also present at any time in your life, just out of the blue. We do tend to have a gene in common, but it's not a gene that you typically inherit. It's like one of those random spawn genes. So you get 50% from mommy and daddy, but you also get like some auto-generated like drops, some random like attributes, and no one knows what they're going to be. And one of mine is didn't exactly develop in a normal way, and I ended up with Tourette's syndrome. So there's lots of factors combining to cause it, and a lot of people don't really understand it. And even if you say you have Tourette's syndrome, a lot of people think they get what that means, but they don't actually know. And it's really dangerous. So, like, people think that it's what you're thinking, that you just blurt out what you're thinking. And if you say things that are racial slurs or like homophobic slurs, like, people believing that is just as dangerous as them not knowing what Tourette's is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So like it's an interesting thing to live with because you don't know how things are going to go. Like, you can cook for yourself and you don't know whether you're going to hurt yourself. You don't know whether you're going to make it with the plate to wherever you're going to go eat, or if the food is just going to end up on the ceiling. You don't know whether a day out is going to be calm and fine and no one would know you have Tourette's, or whether like people are going to start on you, or call security. You know, it's a mixed, it's every day is very, very unpredictable.
Sounds very challenging. Extremely challenging.
You get used to it.
Yeah. And so explain to me, so you said that the ticks are what was it, written, verbal, and the other one, I'm sorry.
Motor tics, so their body. So I have a wink tick, and people always think I'm coming onto them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially at clubs where people can't hear what you say. So
yeah,
I could be saying "fuck off" over and over again, but I've just winked, and all they can see across the room is some girl is winking at me. I better go over.
Yeah, I love that. I actually, so you know, Aniki Chad, obviously, right?
Yeah. I found him in my community. Like, he was, I think he joined my community before he started streaming.
Oh, really? Yeah, I was hanging out with him one day on stream. It must have been like months ago, and I do this thing where I roll my eyes into the back of my head, and it happens just like randomly, right? And he looked at me and he's like, "You have Tourette's," and I was like, "What?" It's like, is it that easy to notice? Like, or is it?
So you can have a tic and it not be Tourette's.
Yeah, of
especially
course.
if you have one tic. So it stops just being a tic and starts potentially being Tourette syndrome. If you've had it for more than a year, it's more than one type of tic. So maybe you have an eye roll and occasionally you tap your knee or whatever, but they don't have to be consistent for a year. You could have it for 6 months and it go away for a month and come back or whatever. But if it's still happening a year later, no matter how infrequently or whatever, then it may well be Tourette syndrome. But it's good to get these things checked, because copper poisoning can manifest similar symptoms, for example, and so can brain trauma and all sorts of things. So if you're having tics, it's worth going and checking it out, even if you don't care whether you have Tourette syndrome.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's very odd. My uncle used to do it. I remember him doing it when I was younger, and he would just be sitting there and he'd just be rolling his eyes into the back of his head, and it would be like it's like a sense of relief. And when I just brought that up to you, I literally like felt the need to roll my eyes into the back of my head. So is that like when someone says something that might like trigger a response to you? How does that work? Is it like if someone talks about sex, does it trigger like a sexual like a verbal like tick, or how does that work, or is it just totally random based on the conversation?
So it doesn't have to be contextual. Sometimes it is. It's kind of just like word salad. You don't know what's going to get tossed up to the surface. I could have a tick about buttered toast, or I could have a tick about something that we're talking about. It's I never know, and it's not usually consistent. But things that make you think about your condition, things that make you want to resist doing something specific, are very likely to cause you to do it. But like, when it comes to triggers and things, I'm always a bit nervous about going into detail, because when I had a banana tick and it was really bad and I'd just shout it over and over again, people would intentionally trigger it in chat, and it was getting to the point where I could only stream like 2 or 3 times a week because I would just say it until my throat bled. Like, it was really bad. So like, whenever people are like, so how does it work, and you know, how do you end up having these tics, I'm like, that's really dangerous. Like, people have tried to make me say my own address and things like that on stream. So yeah.
So do you it's got to be you've gone through a lot of like different by streaming, obviously, like a lot of things that you've been dealing with. Do you feel like I guess I just want it to be safe, like for you, so like nothing bad happens to you. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like, is there a way to make it so you can't be like adversely affected by any of the things that people might say in chat to like trigger a tick or something of the sort? Is there like a cutoff measurement or something? Curious what you do to prevent things like that.
So we have an extensive and very dedicated mod team. One of them has built kind of like an automated system which auto moderates banned words and any variation or misspelling or extra characters or whatever, because people spend hours. I've sat there watching chat while people try to type the word banana in different ways with different characters and things, or like ask questions like what's long and yellow and things like that, and they're just testing the chat when I'm not even online. Like they'll spend an hour doing it. I'll go make myself a cup of tea, get some stuff done, come back, they're still there trying to type banana in chat so that they can just make me say it when I come online.
So fucked up. I'm like I'm still new to, like, I'm not new to the internet, and obviously like I've been gaming since 12, but I'm new to like Twitch still. And I just like I can't get over like this weird perverted like obsession with people that are like on Twitch and on like other platforms that are just like exist to just fucking harass people. Like they literally come on here and their sole purpose is to just deflect how shitty their life is and then just bullshit the entire time on the Twitch chat. Like I still can't I can't understand that. Like I don't have a grasp on it still.
Well, there are a lot of people who are very attention starved, and sometimes excuse me, sometimes when people don't trust in the positive attributes of themselves, they don't trust that they could get recognition, attention, affection, because they're enough, they'll value any kind of response because it will make them feel less lonely. And so they'll debate, they'll troll, they'll, do negative things because any attention feels like attention. It feels like a connection, even if it's negative. And you get a lot of that desperation specifically on Twitch because a lot of gamers are lonely. A lot of gamers spend a lot of time at home. And you're going to get a very high risk factor for, certain things like stalkerish behaviors, obsessive behaviors, really, really out of touch people who just don't understand socializing, people who are incredibly racist, sexist, whatever, like, because, in isolation, people don't develop as quickly or on the same level as everybody else. So you're going to get a high concentration of really, really, I don't know how to describe it, just underdeveloped people.
And they're just somewhat aggressive most of the time, and they're very easy to catch. And do you find that that Twitch has been challenging for you to be yourself on, or do you find that you're able to express yourself?
I lack the neural capacity to develop any other self than the one that I am. I mean, of the few friends that I've
Me too.
Like, it's just too exhausting, but also like my mind just doesn't work that way. There are things that I'm really bad at. Because as well, I forgot to mention, like, Tourette's is an underdevelopment of the brain. You can see it on a brain scan. So really? I'm operating with less machinery than most, and there is just I'm just not capable of imagining another person and sticking to it. Because
how has like Tourette's, like, if you don't mind me asking, like, affected like your relationship with family, friends, and
so I used to get punished a lot as a child. They called me an attention seeker. It was really tough. I used to get punished for tics, which used to make them worse, and they just used to think that I was just a really obnoxious and spiteful child. Then they'd tell me not to do something, and obviously that would make me do it. And it got to the point where they were so convinced that I was an attention seeker that I broke my arm once when I was little. And even though it was bent in the middle, my stepmom was like, "It's not broken, she's just attention seeking," and she like shook my broken arm. And it made a weird noise. So she's like, "Maybe we should get it checked just in case." And I sat there in A&E really calmly with just a straight face because I knew if I cried or made a fuss, they'd punish me and they'd hate me. So I just tried not to seem like I was attention seeking. So I just tried to remain calm. And because of that, I almost didn't get an x-ray because they're like, "Well, she's a kid. If she had a broken arm, she'd cry." And they gave me like this little sticker thing with like a smiley face on one end and an angry face on the other, or a crying face. That was it. And it had like a straight face in the middle and like faces in between. And they're like, "Point to the one that you feel." And I looked from my stepmom to the card to my stepmom to the middle, and I just pointed on the middle one. I was like, "I'm not anything. I'm not feeling anything. Okay, just stop looking at me. I'm not attention seeking." And they're like, "Well, extra just in case, just to be safe." And they're like, "Holy shit, your kid's a tank."
That sounds almost. I mean,
Well, it was a lack of understanding. I mean, from their perspective, they were just like, Anita, don't do this. And I would immediately do it while making eye contact. It looked spiteful. It
yeah,
looked to that they couldn't understand it. I don't think any of the people in my family knew what Tourette's syndrome was. And like there were times where I was really calm and they'd be really get on with me. And they'd go, like, you're such a smart kid. Why do you do this shit?
yeah,
Like, and they'd be so nice to me until I had a tick. And then it would all go to shit again. And yeah, I'd be sent to bed without any food. I'd, be made to stand in the corner alone. I'd be denied like gaming privileges and shit, whilst my step siblings got to do whatever they wanted. And yeah, and she was constantly looming and monitoring my conversations so that she could pull me out of the room and stop me playing the minute I said anything inappropriate. And yeah, I just felt really, really stressful and upsetting. And it just felt very isolating. And yeah, I tried to get a diagnosis when I was really young. My mom moved away from my family. So it was just me and her. And she got worse and worse. Her disability got worse and worse. And in that time, I was caring for her. I was mostly at home. I had these tics. I went to the doctor alone. Well, I think the first time I was like 13 or something. I was like, I do this thing and I'm not doing it intentionally.
yeah.
And like, well, do you hear voices? Do you think you have magical powers? Do you see things that aren't there? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, you're sane, so you're probably just attention seeking and you'll grow out of it. And I was like, fuck, if I do this in front of people, that's all they're going to think of me.
Yeah.
And it made me terrified. And I stayed away from people. I got agoraphobic. I really struggled. And I had a huge social phobia. I was, really, really isolated growing up. I developed most of my social skills in the past 3 or 4 years.
Wow. So you've and then your social skills obviously this year has been a little scuffed because of Corona and all that jazz. And but how is it with friends and such? Are they pretty understanding? Do they not like, because you said earlier it's like a party trick, right? Like people laugh, like they laugh and they're like, oh yeah, just Anita having a tick, you know? How is that how has that affected you in terms of like your friends and social ability and things like that?
Well, if I'm honest, if people can't respect my condition, I don't really crave their company. I don't have friends who don't understand and aren't respectful about it. They understand the barriers and they understand the boundaries. If they didn't, they wouldn't be my friends. But yeah, there have been people who are like, oh, you got Tourette's, that's so funny. You should hang out with me and my mates. You should come out to clubs with me. They'd love you. And I know exactly what's going to happen in that situation. I'm just like, I'm good, thanks. Like, I don't let people be weird about it. But mostly people are very accepting. And mostly, like, people are just very kind about it nowadays. I think there's a lot more awareness, so it's easier.
How does that work with like your dating life?
Oh no, like, so I've never taken an interest in anyone I haven't known for a long time. So I've already known everyone I've been with for at least a year, and then in that time they've grown completely used to my tics. So like I've already known that they're fine with it long before I ever considered them. So
that's good. I was wondering about that because like I think that people may or may not be like respectful in that sense, and they might be kind of hard to. They might be like a little bit more difficult and less patient, I would think, because they like say you're going out to dinner and then you have a tick and you tell the waiter to go fuck themselves or something like that. And then like in situations like that, how do you like explain? How do you explain to people, or you know what, fuck it, you don't even have to, because you're your own self and there's no point in that. Why would you ever go out there and be like, hey, I have Tourette's, by the way, you should be aware of that before we have a conversation? You would never do that, yeah.
Well, it depends on the situation, because every time I get in a taxi, I say, hey, I have Tourette's syndrome. If I say something inappropriate, I'm really sorry. If I shout cats, please don't slam the brakes.
Yeah.
And if I offer to fist you, please don't try to take me up on the offer. And usually they chuckle, they ask me a few questions about it. We have like a little fun conversation. They drop me off. It's fine. Other times, they'll be foreign. They don't know the language very well. They're like, what? And then like the minute I say something offensive, they're like, get the fuck out of my car. or like someone who's elderly who doesn't understand what's going on, and they keep mishearing you, and then they understand but they don't understand, and they're really confused and upset. Like, I get into situations that are not great. So when it comes to like going out in public, so I've had the kind of exes who, like, if I have like a really loud, embarrassing tic, they'll just do something louder and more silly to take the attention off me.
That's kind of nice. That's sweet. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And like, they're the kind of people that are fine with it, even when it's really annoying, even when I like spank them, even when like I spit on them, even when I, you know, kick them, or like, you know, I'm like, really sorry. And they're like, it's fine. I don't care. I had siblings. I'm used to this, you know, like, and those are the only people that I'd ever consider dating, but it's never stood in my way. Like, never. I've had people stop me in the street and try to ask me out, even if they've seen me having tics out in public. I still get people who ask for my number. I've never been turned down on the basis of having Tourette's syndrome. It's never inhibited me. I've never been dumped because of it. Nothing. And that's really impressive to me, because my first boyfriend, I kept punching him in the solar plexus and winding him. I didn't have a diagnosis or an explanation for why. And he just stayed for a year.
Wow. You'd be knocking him out and he'd just be like, I love you, Anita. It's like, don't leave me. Holy shit.
It's like Twitch chat. You know? I call them simps, and I call them dickheads, and they still keep coming back.
Wait, when you've offered a fisting before to someone, has someone actually like taken that seriously and like considered it, and then you've had to be like, I'm just kidding, by the way, I did not mean that. It's my Tourette's.
I think the most surprising one most recently was I said, can I sit on your foot? I think it was to a taxi driver or something lewd regarding sitting on his foot. And he went silent for a minute, and he went, with the socks on.
Do you want me to take them off, or do you want me to leave them on? It's like,
I think that's really considerate that he asked.
Yeah, at least he's being considerate. Yeah. Oh man. So where did the name Sweet Anita come from?
So I don't know whether this is an uplifting story or not. So I'm gonna hit you with all. Fine, I'll just go all in.
Just hit me, yeah.
Okay.
Not in the solar plexus though, but go ahead.
Just the balls. I have a great aunt who fucks men. I have a great aunt who called Anita, and she died of lupus, and she lived her own life. She was raised in a time where women were supposed to get married as soon as possible, settle down, have kids, and she just did her own thing. She never married, and the older she got, the more pressure from society there was. They're like, you're going to be a woman on the shelf, no one's going to want you, you better marry quick. And then she just rolled through that time, came out the other end an older person, and people were like, there must be something wrong with you, nobody ever married you. She did not give a fuck. And like, her sisters were kind of estranged, but my mom would still visit her as a kid, and she'd be like, Anita, Auntie Anita, like, your sisters, like, my mom's wonders, do you ever get lonely? And she was like, oh honey, men are trash. You should just pay for the good bit and then live alone, because you get the best of both worlds. I don't care what people think of me. I'm really happy. I mean, I haven't had anyone weighing me down and using me like a maid, and I still get all the good stuff. And like, my mom was just like, whoa, she never heard anyone just be so unapologetically themselves. And I kind of thought, well, she was a badass. She didn't let anything stop her. She didn't let her illness stop her. And she just did what she wanted in life. And it didn't matter what people thought. She still loved doing it. And I gave streaming a try, and I was like, well, I'm scared, but like, and I have this illness, and it's not just the Tourette's. I also have an autoimmune disorder too. And I'm like, people are going to be mean. I already know. They're going to be mean. There are going to be people who doubt me. I've received doubt my whole life. I already know that there are going to be people who try to exploit this. I already know that there are people who are going to fetishize it. But I'm not going to let it hold me back, because Auntie Anita dealt with all this all her life. And she still fucking rocked it. She fucking aced life. So, yeah, I wanted to be like her. I didn't want it to hold me back. And I didn't. And I'm really glad I dared to. And I think it was really good to be able to have someone like that who was really inspirational and daring in the family to kind of like set the way.
Yeah, I think that's says a lot about like it says a lot about you, you know, to be able to like take that and then kind of live by it too, in a sense. I think that's I have an aunt like that I really look up to. She couldn't have kids due to some issue with her body, and but she always had my back the entire time, and she just lived her life. She never let anyone kind of like roadblock her at all. And I always admired how she lived her life, and she was the same way. She wasn't married, but she never let anyone tell her otherwise. Even though she had 11 brothers and sisters, she just said fuck it and did what she wanted to do. And I admire your aunt for that. So her name's Anita, and she's obviously sweet. So
yeah, but I kind of use the sweet as kind of like a little bit of irony, because I figured people are going to be like, oh, this person sounds nice, and then they're going to sit in my chat and kind of hear all the obscenities and then be like so I wanted to just catch people off guard.
So are you still in touch with your aunt, or is she?
Oh, she died of lupus. She died
sorry.
in her sleep. Oh, it's okay. Like, she still managed to have a really awesome life,
yeah.
And she still managed to have a really good influence on me and my mom too. I don't necessarily believe have the same values as her. I'm never going to pay for sex, and I certainly don't think all men are trash. But I kind of appreciate that she didn't let anyone set the standards for how she should live her life. So I feel like you don't have to agree with someone completely to take really good lessons from the way they live their life and how they navigate things.
So Overwatch. I want to ask about Overwatch. Do you still play Overwatch often?
Mainly off stream now. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of streaming saps the fun out of gaming for me, because like people like, see, this is why you shouldn't let women play games. I feel like I'm letting women down.
I fucking hate that shit. I fucking hate that. Like, and then like, what? All men think that they're good at fucking video games. They're like trash. Like, majority of the time, they're trash.
But as well, like, I have motor difficulties. My brain doesn't tell my hand where to go properly. Like, and so like I'm gonna tick. I love playing sniper, but you know I want to shoot the target, and Terrence wants to shoot the sky. So like it's kind of like every time someone new hops in and goes, ugh, a girl gamer who can't actually play, and starts shooting me down when I'm trying, and I have like a disadvantage, and I still manage to get kills and stuff. I just feel like there's so many guys who feel vindicated in like bullying women out of these places, and I just don't want to add to it. So I can just play this offline and not add to the problem. So like I used to play mostly Overwatch in the beginning, but it's one of those things where I do love gaming. I just like it less on stream.
Yeah. So like Among Us, at least, has that been like less stressful, or is it around the same?
I like Among Us because, you know, I can fuck up tasks, and it's just a curveball, because people are like, you spent a really long time doing that super quick task, and I'm like, I'm just shit, and they're like, oh, okay, and then when I fake it, and I'm like, I don't know what task this is, how long should I stand here, fuck, and someone's watching me, and they're like, you were there for ages, I'm like, I'm just shit, and they're like, oh yeah.
I love that.
So it works out.
Yeah, because I've been enjoying it too. It's been, I mean, that's how I met you. It's cool to, it's cool to at least like meet you through that game. And there's been a lot of other great people that we played with too. And I think it's really interesting, like the dynamic that's been around too. Someone said nobody cares if women play video games. No, do you mind if I speak candidly for a second, Anita? I'm sorry. The internet, so I grew up on the internet, and I was playing a game called Star Wars Galaxies when I was 13 years old. Okay. And it was an MMORPG that looked like it came out of like a cereal box. It was that shitty, okay? And I remember back in the day when they had this thing called TeamSpeak, and you would talk through TeamSpeak to all these other people, and there'd be two girls that were in our guild or whatever. And all the guys, 38 other guys, would lose their shit over the fact that there were two girls there. To the fact where they would say that they were not actually women, that there were people using things to change their voice. So, like, I've witnessed people harassing women through video games since I was a kid. And it's happened, and it has not stopped. The minute, like, my ex-girlfriend used to play WoW, and she was a competitive, like, WoW player. Yeah, WoW. And she used to get shit if she fucked up once because she was a chick. She would get endless amounts of shit if she fucked up once in any sort of competition because she was a chick. And then they'd say, this is why girls suck at video games. So, like, I don't care what anyone says. Women get harassed extensively through video games. It's extremely hard to be a woman playing video games in any sort of competitive environment. I don't care what anyone says. That's my opinion. Sorry. I don't usually do that. I don't usually give my opinion, but I hate that shit. And there's there's like this massive like ego blocking mentality with like some really like uptight dudes out there that think they're like hot shit, and they throw a fucking fit over it. So anyways, sorry, Anita.
That's all right. It's hard to talk about because nobody likes hearing it on stream, and there's so many people who argue with it because like there's a high concentration of incels on Twitch, and so like you don't benefit from talking about it at all, even though it needs to be said. And I think that's really sad. But unfortunately, anyone who's spoken up for women ever in the history of women has gotten shut down and ostracized. Like, you know, men who stood with the women who campaigned for the vote were shot down. The women who campaigned for the vote were considered horrible, husband-beating, controlling women, you know, that are just sad because they're ugly and all this sort of stuff. And that just hasn't gone away yet. So, like, we're not really being believed or taken seriously very much when we're trying to fix that. But I think it's just naturally going to happen because people are just seeing more and more women who are brave enough to put up with the bullshit to enjoy the games. And as more and more women dare to do that, men are getting more and more used to interacting with women. And it's one of those things that's slowly changing. I've seen it since I've been a kid, and one of the things I find weirdly horrible about it is that people go, "Oh my god, a girl gamer, will you be my girlfriend?" Because people really sexualize it, and I'm just like, fuck off. Like, we like the same game. That doesn't mean that you're suddenly, you know,
attractive. Yeah. The fuck.
Yeah, like I don't like it when people sexualize it. I just want to play the game. I don't, you know, there's only one joystick I want to touch, and it's not theirs.
It's just really sad. Like, not to get into too much of like the whole like the issues that women run into just existing in today's society, and it's been a thing that they've been running into, I would think, since the beginning of man, is that the person I'm seeing works at an elementary school. Okay, she's a 4th grade teacher. All right, and she was walking out of her school the other day and was approached by 3 dudes. She works in like a low socioeconomic status environment, so it's a very poor environment. And she was approached by 3 men, and she was wearing what could be resembled as a trash bag. And she was walking down the street, and these 3 men said, one of the guys says, "Man, I'd really like to eat her ass," and then said it like out of nowhere, right? And she's a strong, independent woman, so she said, "Excuse me? What did you say?" And then the guy backed down, and she's like, "You want to fucking say that again?" And like got like aggressive, right? And it was just like that is like a thing that all women have to deal with. Like, at the end of the day, like, there are so many fucking sad, shitty men out there and women that will literally just like sexualize and catcall and do whatever the fuck they can to try to get some sort of like attention or a chance of fucking someone. Like, that triggers the fuck out of me. And like, I remember in the Middle East, I went there with my mom, and we were walking down we were in Jordan, in Amman, Jordan, and we were walking down this narrow pathway. And in the pathway, she had a low cut shirt. My mom has, I guess, large breasts is what people would say. She had a low cut shirt on, and as all the men came out of the shops and stuff, they were looking at her and shaming her as she walked down the street. Like, and it was me and my brother walking her, and we were surrounded by men just staring at her and like moving their hands and shit like that. I feel bad for women. That's the only reason I bring this up. It bothers the shit out of me. Sorry. That was a long-winded rant, so.
It's fine. Yeah. I mean, it comes up a lot when I talk to people on Twitch and it's hard as well to break out of it because like I got all these like questions from a reporter. This is the one I remember the most. I was at Gamescom.
Yeah.
And this reporter was like sitting me down the day before, and he was like running me through all the questions. So when did your Tourette's present? All the usual stuff. And I'm like, oh, fine. And I'm like, yeah, those were really cool answers. I can't wait to have that conversation again live tomorrow. See you then. I sit down. Those were none of the questions. They're like, so what's it like to be a girl gamer?
Oh, come the fuck on.
And they were like, do you find that people are mean to you? Do you do this? Do you do that? What do you think we should? Do you have all the answers? Can you solve sexism in games for me live right now? Guys, we're so progressive, guys. And I was just like, fuck. So like, I got really like guarded. And at the end, I was like, please don't ever do that to me again. Firstly, those weren't the questions. And secondly, you're making me into an other person. Like, I'm trying to connect with the people in chat. I'm trying to connect with them on a human level. The minute you make me a girl gamer, I'm not relatable anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just a thing to put a dick in. The minute you highlight that I'm a woman constantly, and you're like, look at this woman I found. Yeah, she plays games, guys. Let's have a listen. You're basically compartmentalizing me into the most hated group, like the one that gets all the shit. And like nobody connects with you. People just see you as other. Like people are like, how do I talk to girls? It's like, I'm not another fucking species. Just talk about what you like. Like, why do you think like I don't have like an alphabet of like the women language? Just be a human for fuck's sake, right? So like because there's that attitude, when people compartmentalize me like that, I'm just like, oh, here we go. I'm like, there are people who pat me on the back who are just like, it's so nice to see a woman. I'm just like, stop there.
Just stop.
Get out.
Yeah.
Like, I know that there are extra difficulties. We all have extra difficulties. There's extra difficulties to being a dude too. I mean, the amount of shit we give people for just expressing themselves and emoting. And it's like, there's a chain of events there. It's basically the radiation of sexism. Like, we get nuked, it's true, but you get the radiation because emotions are feminine, and feminine is bad. That is an underclass. You're taking a step down. Women can be tomboys and be patted on the head, but the minute you wear a skirt, kid, I'm going to take you home and sort you out because we don't want you changing into one of those, one of those guys.
Yeah,
right?
That's
because
so
it's
true.
a step down. And so the radiation is suicide because, if you can't emote, and you can't talk about your feelings or process them, and you bottle them up and you constantly try to be like a pillar of strength and you don't get supported yourself, what do you do when something is crushing you inside? It just grows and grows and grows until it destroys you. And so like, these sorts of things are struggles too, and they're really fucking serious struggles. Men are more likely to be a victim of violence from a stranger, for example, and these sorts of things. And I don't think that I want to constantly be like, we should do things for women's, guys, women's, yeah. I kind of feel like we should do things for everybody, that like this gender issue isn't just this thing where like one side is the victim and the other is the perpetrator. It's that we're all fucking each other over with this imaginary thing that isn't actually important at all. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't play games with my vagina, okay?
Yeah.
I play them with my fucking hands, and they operate the same as a dude's. So like, the more emphasis we put on it, the less we can just like get on, see eye to eye, and actually focus on what matters, which is the fucking high score.
It is explicitly like that, and that's the worst part is, and especially I think it's more prevalent on Twitch, obviously, not to generalize any of it, but it's more explicitly on Twitch that at least we can see, because I think we spend the majority of our time on Twitch, unfortunately, right? I mean, you stream, how often do you stream, Anita?
6 days a week.
6 days a week. And how long typically do you stream for?
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. And is it mostly just you? Like, what is some of the content that you do on your channel that just what is some of the content you do on your channel generally?
So I play just chatting knowledge videos. I get a lot of people ask me for advice. So I've kind of inadvertently ended up being like an agony aunt on Twitch for some reason. I mean, I don't know why people look at me and think I've got all the answers, but like I get asked a lot of very serious questions, a lot of really silly questions, and I play games in between. I try out new things all the time, and yeah, I'm just a variety streamer. I think being shit at most games is a real advantage on Twitch, weirdly, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but the pro players get fuck all follows and subs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the people who connect, it's the people who have a sense of humor about it all and just play whatever and have fun that tend to gain traction. And I've been lucky in that I already know I'm not going to be like a pro player, so I just have fun and be silly. And it means that things stay pretty constant viewership-wise no matter what I do.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, I try to point that out to people because so many people think that they have to be really great at games, so they don't deserve to be here. And they do. Everyone has a place here on Twitch. It's not
Yeah.
about being great at games anymore. It's about being able to bring a connection and a smile.
So, do you think on every day that you stream 6 days a week that you're making an impact on someone's life?
I don't know. I'd like to hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that a lot more people know about Tourette's syndrome than they ever did, which makes things safer for people like me, definitely. I know a lot of people who always fantasized about streaming started and stopped being afraid to do so because they're not afraid of people seeing their tics anymore. And they've seen, that Twitch isn't going to ban them and that they do have a place here. And, I've created a Discord community where it's very accepting and everyone's clued in and understands that what not being neurotypical is, and that sort of thing. So I think that that's made a difference, and I hope it will continue to do so. Currently talking with some people who have the power to change the laws here in the UK regarding stalking. So that's really exciting. We're just putting together something now, and yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways and angles that I'm trying to make things better for people, but I guess it's not something that's easy to measure, so I'll never really know.
I feel you talk about stalking quite a bit, right? And you're very open about your current situation as far as I'm aware, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try to limit it. I probably only speak, and of all the incidents, I've probably only spoken about it a handful of times, but it's
Yeah.
always gained so much traction
Right.
that it seems like a lot. But yeah, I opened up about it, and I know a lot of people don't because they just feel resigned and they feel like nothing's going to change. And I think as well, a lot of people don't talk about it because they're scared to give it any attention and
Yeah.
fuel it. But I get shit no matter what, so I might as well contribute to making the problem, easy, making things different and making things better because I am used to being treated terribly, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of that. There's not like a consequence that will limit me. So
Are I so like I have a good friend of mine, and but he kind of introduced me to Twitch. His name is Austin. He used to be the Raj Patel on Twitch. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Are you familiar? No.
I don't know. I might be. I remember names better than I remember faces better than names.
He does like a dating show. He does a dating show on Twitch.
Oh yeah, I know the guy.
Yeah, and I was always curious about like things like that. Like stalkers. People that like send him like death threats and shit like that. And he never, as far as I know, he didn't really talk about it too much. But you probably seem to be one of the most open people on Twitch regarding this. And is that not like a safety concern for you to be so explicit about it?
In what sense?
I don't know. I'm just like, I'm curious about like the about like you talking about it like publicly. Like if it's a thing that you have to deal with on like a daily basis, or like a thing that you have to deal with throughout your life currently as it is, does it not raise more concern for you to discuss it publicly because it might put you at more risk or something of the sort?
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, what specifically do you think will be different whether I speak
No,
about it or not?
I have no fucking clue. That's why I'm asking. Because first off, I'll be candid. I've never had a stalker, so I don't know what that's like, and I can't imagine how fucking nerving. It's got to be absolutely unnerving to have to deal with too. But what exactly, like, I don't really. I guess I don't know enough about the context of it and what goes into you protecting yourself in that sense.
So, I get asked a lot of creepy questions that people don't realize are creepy in chat all the time. Do you live alone? Are you single? Do you live alone? Are you single? Are you alone right now? Those are really creepy ass questions to ask a woman in any context.
Yeah, any context.
If a taxi driver asked me that, I'd be like, I want to get out here. I don't want you driving me to my house.
Yeah.
Like, that is creepy, right? So yeah, you're constantly very aware of your own safety anyway. Because people like me are more likely to be the victim of like sexual crimes and things like that. I have to be very careful, not just because I'm female or anything, but also because 1 in 3 women with disabilities ends up dealing with rape or sexual assault and things like that. We're specifically targeted because we're considered, especially ones with neurological difficulties, because we're considered not very credible. People assume that if they do something to us, no one's going to believe us.
Yeah.
It's very easy to write off someone like me as crazy. So I've had a lot of attention because of my tics. People have noticed me in public, and this means that when 100 people are going to notice you in a day, good chance one of them's going to be a creep.
Yep.
So I've had stalkers long before I started streaming, and I've had to deal with it in a variety of ways, and I always have dealt with it. But online, on streaming, it hasn't actually increased like the in-person streaming, stalking. Sure, there are people online, but I don't care. And the thing with that is that it is difficult to navigate talking about stalking and being stalked, because for a multitude of reasons, it's really taxing. For example, how do I talk about what needs to change without advertising how to get away with stalking?
Yeah.
If I talk about what the problem is and why I can't get a conviction right now and shit, does that incentivize anyone to do anything? Is security on YouTube and Twitch actually profitable, or something that they're invested in? Who knows? I don't know if there's going to be a guarantee that it will amount to anything, but it is a guarantee that people will be taking notes and going, I see. So that's how you get away with it.
Yeah.
And so, I don't want to endanger other streamers. The whole point is to help them, is to make things safer for them. Also, divulging too many details about what's occurred can be really dangerous too.
Yeah.
Because it can inhibit my ability to press charges. So if I
Yes.
do take this to court down the line, and I am seen by the court to have prejudiced people against this person and utilized my community as an advantage,
Yep.
that will prejudice a court against me. And so I'm putting my own justice at risk by coming forward. It doesn't benefit me at all to do this, but I feel like the problem isn't that I have a stalker. The problem is that it's too easy to stalk people on Twitch and get away with it.
Yeah.
The problem is that nothing that Twitch currently has in terms of security measures stops this from happening, and is an effective measure in any way, shape, or form. The current system is broken and easy to get around, and that needs to change before someone dies. And yeah, that whole thing is hard. It is scary. Put a foot wrong, talk about it live without thinking it through really carefully, and you could put yourself in danger. You could fuck up a court case. You could make the police not want to cooperate with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like things like people are like, I want to email and harass the police department that's failing you right now. And I'm like, it's all police departments all over.
Yeah, it's the world.
Yeah, so like if thousands of people bully my local police, all that happens is maybe they get a bug up their butt for publicity reasons,
and
maybe a little bit more gets done for me. And then the problem stays, and it'll happen again, or it'll happen to somebody else, only worse. And it hasn't gone away. That's not enough for me.
Yeah.
But also, if that police force is dumb, they could accidentally not realize something and let something slip and put me in further danger.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. And so like, how do I talk about what's going on? Because like the news, the media that got in contact with me, I mean, there's articles about it on the Insider and stuff, and they're like, I want to talk to the police that failed you. Can you give me your full name?
Get the fuck out of here. No.
And I was like, really, no. And they're like, we're on your side. We won't jeopardize your safety at all. And I'm like, yeah, no, journalists lie. There's no way any journalist is getting that off me. But also, aside from that, like, I don't want people harassing the police. I want the law changed.
Yeah.
They're trying to do their job. But as well, they're like, well, if I can't verify, you don't get the article, and I know you need the publicity. And I'm like, fuck off.
Fuck the publicity. Get out of here with that shit.
That wasn't the Insider, by the way.
Yeah.
The Insider was actually really nice. But like, yeah, there's that element to it. And there's so many things. Like, if I talk about it, if 7 things happen to me in a week, I will mention one a month. And the reason why is because if I talk about it too often, my content just becomes me being a victim, and it becomes my stalker. My stalker is my content.
And then they're winning. They're winning at that point. Yeah.
And as well, like, I don't want to be like this damsel in distress that people white knight over. I want to have fun and play fucking games, you know? So like when people constantly like go and chat, updates about your stalker, I'm worried for you, updates about your stalker. What's going on? Hello, could you talk about your stalker? Could you talk about stalking? And it's just relentless. And so, yeah, this has been a really, really difficult thing to navigate well without jeopardizing other people's safety, my safety, without fucking up and accidentally doxing myself, without, you know, making things worse potentially. It's just a hard, but I'm really proud because despite having this against me this whole fucking time, I've still stayed streaming. I've still kept going. I haven't lost out in any terms. I haven't taken a million days off or quit. Because there are streamers who quit because of their stalker. I've potentially, you know, I've gotten enough notice that there are MPs and stuff writing to me like, cool, let's fix this. Like, this is actually I've taken this bullshit situation, and even though it's been a fucking minefield, I'm still seeing good things come of it and real change come of it. So I'm not glad that it happened, but I'm glad I managed to kind of like get through the minefield so far without anything exploding on me.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's very courageous of you. It says a lot about your character, to like battle that head on. And I mean, you seem to be taking like a steadfast like stance on it, and I respect the hell out of you for the way you're handling everything. It's it doesn't make you seem like a victim. It just makes you seem like someone who wants to make a change and a difference, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. If anything, that's commendable.
Thank
you know? Yeah, I respect you for that. Honestly, I really do. And I hope it keeps going well for you for the most part, and you don't step in any minefields, because God forbid. I fucking hate mines. It's like walking in dog shit, you know, when you're walking through a park or something. It's not fun. There's nothing fun about it. Do you have issues trying to stay positive as you kind of go through all this? And are you seem pretty highly motivated though. You seem like you feel like you have a bigger purpose and you want to push through it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the overproduction of dopamine and serotonin, or maybe it's the fact that I just feel really grateful and lucky to exist and to have a chance to do anything and interact with anything. I'm a very grateful person. So yeah, I don't see challenges as a reason to drag myself down. I see them as a chance to step up. I've always had an activist mindset. It doesn't matter what happens or how scary it is. I'm like, oh, that's a problem. Let's fix that. I don't see like things where I'm just like, woe is me, for a bad thing has happened. I'm like, oh, cool, that's an issue. Let's fix that, guys. Do you want to help me with this? And I've always been like that. I mean, I was fucking shit scared of the lady with the meat cleaver. We had like a cattle market nearby, and there was this lady with a meat cleaver, and she used to pull out these live rabbits, chop their heads off, skin them, clean them. I had nightmares about that.
It's a little aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, and at 4,
oh my god,
we went out into the car park, and my mom was like, why is your coat wiggling? And that's how I got my first rabbit.
Oh, you took one of the rabbit? You saved a rabbit?
I actually saved quite a few over time. My mom would lose me. We'd go into town. We'd be nowhere near it. And she'd just lose me in a supermarket. And she'd be wandering around, you know?
Yeah.
And she'd be like, where the fuck did she go? I'd just come back, and I had like this really handy puffer jacket. Thank fuck for that puffer jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up with at least 5 or 6 rabbits.
No shit, really?
In the end.
That's so cute.
But yeah, I've always been like it. So I kind of see it. I'm really grateful for that little thing in me. I think it's not something I want to take credit for, because I kind of feel like it was intrinsic before I had any idea of moral value or anything like that, or status.
Yeah.
I had this weird, like, hyper empathy and this real urge to make things better. And yeah, it's just never left me. And I do feel really happy at day to day. I mean, I know I'm in a tricky situation, but I really love living. I love my food. I love my friends. I love everything about existence. And yeah, challenges don't drag me down at all.
That's awesome. I mean, and it's probably, I guess, is it surreal at all to realize like what you're doing for a living right now? Like, because it must be kind of wild, right? I mean, this is like your job, right? This is your full-time career right now.
Yeah. My grandma used to tell my mom off for letting me play computer games all day.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, who's laughing now, Mom? Yeah. But like, no, I never thought this would be a thing. I never thought it'd be successful. When I first started streaming, I didn't think anyone would care or take notice. Like, it's very surreal. And I do feel incredibly lucky. It's busy, it's hard, and no one understands how fucking difficult it is to stream and do okay at streaming. But I love it anyway.
Yeah. It's I totally agree. It's definitely challenging. I've only, like I said, I've been doing it for about a year now, and it can be very discouraging at points to stream and be like, well, because you get into this mindset of like you're chasing a numbers game or whatever, and like then you're like, well, I'm not making enough revenue, or I'm not earning enough money, or like the viewers don't like it, I'm not being clipped, I'm not being thrown on LSF, there's no publicity, and it's just like endless. It's like a fucking cycle of just like constant like insecurities and like depression and things like that. So the fact that you are positive, and it worked out pretty well for you to be the person that you are, and you're not even a character, which is even more impressive. You're literally just yourself. And I think a lot of people here's a question for you. Do you think a lot of people are more inclined to watch someone that can be like a relief from their current situation, like not accepting their personal issues and such, and just like watching someone scream at a monitor and say like stupid shit the entire time? Or do you think it's more appealing for someone like you to be on the platform, to be yourself? And because that's how I portray myself as well. I don't alter who I am for the sake of content or anything like that. Which parallel do you think is more, I don't know, advantageous for Twitch and for other people?
I don't know about you, but I follow lots of people, a huge variety, and some people are fake as fuck and have a persona, and other people, and that's fun. You love it. You're in on the joke. It's fun, and you enjoy it for a bit, and it's entertaining. But sometimes you want to connect with someone. Sometimes you want something real. Sometimes you don't want to be patronized. Sometimes you don't want a performance. Sometimes you want to connect, and you want to look across at someone, not up to someone, and you want to feel like this person understands you, this person relates to you. And so I think that people watch both, and that both have a place here for different reasons. And every single one of us, when you get to a certain point, you'll get hundreds of messages a day from people who are like, I wanted to end it today, but you're helping me cope and get through. I saw your situation and mine is so similar, and seeing you get through it gives me hope. These sorts of things. And you get all these touching messages, hundreds of them. I've heard like Dr. Disrespect say it, and he's like, you wouldn't think that people come to him therapeutically, and everyone in between. Like, there's so many people on the platform who bring that in their own unique way. So I kind of feel like it's not that they're, I think it's not that people gravitate towards one or the other. They're just different play styles in the same game, and they are both successful if you do them well. So my answer to that is, depends on who you are. If you've got a really relatable personality, you don't have to be. One of the things I love about Twitch is you don't have to be, well, maybe if you're a dude, you don't have to be hot, you don't have to be great, you don't have to be young, you don't have to be talented, and you can still have loads of people come flocking to you to spend time with you and admire you, because relatability is just as important here. And it's harder for women because no matter who you are, what kind of content you produce, people will measure you by your statistics, and you'll always have a disadvantage over other people in a male-dominated kind of platform where most of the viewers are guys, and they can easily get distracted by boobs. So you can produce the best content ever as a woman, but they're not going to relate to you because you're a woman and someone else has better boobs. So, but if you're a dude, the relatability is a currency just as much as any other kind of talent, and I think that's kind of awesome because
that's definitely something I noticed too. Like the people I attract, people who are like, I think like over the age of like 27. Like, I don't think I attract people who are like under the age of like 25. And if I do, it's like someone like looking up to me as like a fatherly figure, some weird contorted like vision like that. And okay, there's one 23-year-old in there, but most of my audience is over the age of 25 to 27, and it's people who are like a little bit more, I guess, mature, but they're perverted, so it kind of works out in a sense. And that's kind of how I want it. I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way. And I will say the one thing that I have noticed about being on Twitch for so long, for a year, which I think is pretty fucking long, but for being on the platform for this long, is how how nice all the other creators are on the platform. Everyone's so fucking nice so far as I can tell. And they've been very supportive. I mean, like, you know, like, you're the 51st guest I've had on my show, and I've had great people on here before, and some of them are, you know, big time people, I guess, on the platform, just like yourself, who are taking time out of their day to come hang out with me. And it's like, well, who the fuck am I? Why are you giving me your time? Why did you agree to doing an interview with me, Anita?
Because it sounded like fun. I like conversations with people. I like the chance to do something two-sided, because most of the time I'm talking to a camera, and I really enjoy meaningful conversations, especially with streamers. So it just seemed like fun for me on a personal level to just engage with someone who might understand. And yeah, that was the appeal of it for me. But I'm not really a clout chaser, or like, I don't really pay attention to numbers and stuff. So and I think even if I did, I'd still see the importance of raising people up. I don't think it's okay to leech from others if you're not willing to give. And that, you know, I feel like I interact with a lot of small streamers, really small streamers, and I don't care. I mean, I'm sure I could invite a lot more notorious people onto my podcast and shit, but I just want to have fun, and I relish the opportunity to help lift someone up, and that's more pleasurable to me than
I love that about you.
Dragged up by someone else.
Yeah, I love that about you. That's awesome. Because I think at the end of the day, like, this is more of like a social experiment than anything, right? Like, that's what this comes down to, is like, how well can two people who don't even know each other interact? Like, that's literally all my interviews. Out of all the people I've had, like, I've had one interview that was like uncomfortable. It was just because the person was uncomfortable speaking to new people. So it's like, you're obviously very easy to speak to, and you're extremely intelligent, and you're very well spoken, so it's very easy to talk to you. Like, as opposed to like talking to someone who just like plays like I don't know, Fall Guys for 32 hours a day, like, and their brain is just mush. You know what, I've noticed this, Anita, like, playing Among Us, I feel like I've actually lost like intelligence, like, rating in my skull. Like, I feel like I'm actually becoming stupider by playing the game. How do you feel?
I find it really mentally taxing, because I'm trying to pay attention and remember everyone who's passed me. I'm trying not to suck at the task. I'm trying to sit and pay attention to people, because I have attention deficit. Like, those few minutes where we all discuss, I'm trying so hard to remember what someone said a couple of seconds ago, because it's so important. Like, who was where, what's going on? I don't know. Fuck. And then on top of that, because tics happen mentally too, like, it slaps your consciousness all around. When you're trying to think and you have a tic, it's much like trying to remember your phone number while someone shouts random numbers at you, or trying to do hard math in the same situation. So I find it really challenging. But, you know, I like that. So for me, I feel like it's engaging my brain and really pushing me to my limits. I may not come away knowing anything new, but I feel like my brain is stretching and trying in ways that it doesn't normally. So I'm still grateful. But yeah, it doesn't leave a lot scope for personal growth if you're camping one of those servers for 16 hours hoping like XQC will drop in. I know, right? I know. That's I always look at like the list, and it's like there's like 85 people on the list, right? And then it's like nobody's making a second lobby. They're just waiting for their opportunity to just be like, when's that ping gonna happen, man? I'm gonna run right in there and I'm gonna go fucking play. Maybe I'll get like a few more viewers. I can say personally that even though, well, like, I'm a smaller streamer and I've been playing with all these bigger people, I don't think it's impacted my viewership at all. Like, I don't think it really touches it. So I don't get that whole, the clout chasing thing to me is just like, there's a reference to, like, if you work at, I'll give you an example of like a stupid reference, but there's a guy I used to work with at one of my old jobs who used to always bring bagels to work. And he was the guy, he kind of sucked. He had like no personality and he dressed like shit. He looked like a fucking idiot. But at the end of the day, he always brought bagels to the job. So there would always be bagels there. So everyone knew that when he came to work, we would have bagels. So he became the bagel guy. So when layoffs were happening and I was in management and I had to decide who was going to be what, he did an okay job.
He might not have been the most relatable person or the most talkative person, but at the end of the day, he was the guy that brought bagels, and I remembered him for that. And it would suck to have a day where there wouldn't be bagels. And we never let him go. And I put that in a reference into like how the value of someone and what they can include may or may not be more valuable than anything else. And that's the bagel guy to me. So that's how I look at like clout chasing. Don't be not the bagel guy. Be the bagel guy. Like, be the bagel guy. And I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it, because I would never suck someone's wiener to fucking get higher on any platform or anything like that. I would never do that. It just seems stupid. So hashtag be the bagel guy. Yeah.
I kind of feel like what people don't understand, because like when I went viral at first, so to give a little background before I make my point, I went viral a couple of months in. I went from like 20 people to like 15,000 people.
Holy shit.
It was stressful. I didn't know anything about streaming at the time. I was like, what are you doing here? I don't know what to do with you guys. What? I'm not a 15K tier streamer. Get out. Like, and in that situation, people, I got invited to loads of stuff. I went to my first TwitchCon, and everyone was like, you can do whatever you want. You're Sweet Anita. Like even XQC said that. I saw him roaming around, and then I raided him, and I was like, oh, I would have said hello, but I didn't want to be just like a random fan bugging you. And he's like, you can say hello to everyone, whoever you want. You're Sweet Anita. Like,
wow,
everyone had heard of me, and everyone
that's
was
a
really nice
privilege.
to me.
Yeah, I love that.
And I still was like, when I met Pokimane, I was just like, will you sign my card? And I was just cute. Like, really, I didn't have any grasp of what these numbers meant at all. And that this currency has gotten louder and louder as I've gone through streaming. This currency of like, well, what are your stats? And that's your value. And like seeing these lobbies for Among Us, where like the top streamers, according to their viewer count and follower count, are really prioritized. Everyone wants to jump in a lobby with them. And there'll be like 4 or 5 people waiting for an hour for people to come and play with them. And nobody wants to. Because, you know, the other 2 games going on have bigger streamers in them. And I hate that. I've actually been vocal about it. I've actually said, like, a big round of applause to the people who don't clout camp the queuing system. A round of applause to the people who just want to have fun and don't think that they're above playing with anyone who is in the position they were once.
I agree.
And
I agree.
yeah, like, I hate it. I hate it so much. But, like, I feel like it backfires for those people. Leeches, it backfires for them so
absolutely
hard. Because I've met so many leeches, and I don't like them.
Yeah.
When they kiss my ass, when they follow me around, when they ignore all my friends, when they like go and bring me a coffee and they forget everyone else in the room, when they like, you know, they're kissing my feet and everyone around me is getting ignored. I don't like them. Like, it doesn't get them the notoriety and shit, because like you have to make good content.
Yeah.
Like, you can have all the raids you want. You can have all the, like, afterglow of being near someone shiny you want. But, like, no one's going to stick with you if you can't actually stream.
Yeah.
So sucking up to people doesn't actually benefit your stream.
I said the same fucking thing. I said it doesn't matter if you get, like, a host from someone for 100,000 viewers or some shit. It's up to you to retain those people. So, like, even if you're in a lobby with someone playing Among Us and they have 70,000... with XQC or whatever, that doesn't mean that everyone's gonna fucking come watch you just because you're like literally in the fucking lobby with them. The other day, there was a lobby, it was XQC, Hassan, Pokimane. There was one guy streaming who wasn't like a bigger streamer, had 20 viewers. So I was like, there's over 100,000 eyes on you, and there's 20 people watching you specifically. So what are you doing wrong? Right? And I don't think it's, I don't know. I just don't see the point. You can't really leech or clout chase because people have to be engaged by you to be able to do that. Like, I could go on your stream, Anita, and I could be boring as shit, and none of those people would come and watch me. Like, that's literally how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and Yeah, I think a lot of new people don't understand that, and it's really, really fucking sad because they fall out of favor with the people they're sucking up to just as
Yeah,
badly as everyone else who's watching this shit show. Like,
yeah.
it's really, but like, yeah, let those people learn their lesson. I mean, in a world where your personality is your brand,
Hmm.
obviously, them putting off people is a good thing because you don't want people idolizing people like that anyway.
Yeah, no, exactly. I 100% agree. And the other thing I was gonna say is, which Twitch did you go to? You?
So I went to the Berlin one in 2019, and I went to the San Diego one also in 2019, I think, as well.
Wait, we probably ran into each other. I was at EU TwitchCon Berlin was the first TwitchCon I went to. It was the yeah.
Same.
Yeah. We probably did run into each other. Were you live streaming the whole time?
Some of it, occasionally. I actually got really distracted by a few things. I went to the toilet and
Hmm.
people could hear me having pics through the stall. So they all formed an orderly queue. And I thought all the toilets were taken, but it was actually, they were just like waiting for me to come out so I could sign their stuff. And I was like, don't you want me to wash my hands first? um, so like it was kind of hard navigating the public loos. And then when I got out, like there was this lady and she was sat on the floor and she was crying
Hmm.
and she looked really shaken. So I sat down with her and I was like, "Hey, bud, are you okay?" And they explained everything that was going on with them. I was like, "Oh, you can hang out with us if you like." And I just sat there talking with her and stuff for a while until someone she knew found her. I didn't know who she was. I didn't think anything of it. I warned her. I didn't assume she knew anything about me. I was just like, I have Tourette's, by the way. I'm sorry if I say anything mean. I don't mean it.
Yeah.
I'm just here to help. And we parted ways, and I didn't speak to her again. Fast forward a year. And she messaged me on Twitter. I'd been following her this whole time, and I didn't realize it was her.
Hmm.
And yeah, she went, by the way, you came and helped me at TwitchCon, and I can't thank you enough. You're an absolute
Oh.
legend. And I was just like, I've been following you this whole time, and I had no fucking idea, but that's so awesome. So I got really excited about it.
Oh,
So
that's great.
yeah, she's really lovely. But I won't say her name because I don't want to embarrass her.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I was that's when I first met I think I pretty much met everyone that is like a big streamer on Twitch at the time. And I remember meeting Pokimane. It was my first time. I didn't know who she was. So I'll be candid, I did not know who anyone was on Twitch. I literally like I went there for a company that I was consulting with, and they were like, "Hey, you should go to TwitchCon Berlin." And I was like,
Huh.
"Oh, I'll go check it out." And I get there, and I didn't know anyone, and I was sitting on a couch after meeting, Groscore, Ali, and Slicker, and Greek, and Austin, and all these other people. And I was sitting in the hotel lobby, and Austin's like, "Oh, this is Pokey," and I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Joe." And we had like probably like a 35-40 minute conversation about nothing, and I didn't know who she was. I don't know how many followers she had. I didn't know how fucking big she was. Lo and behold, at TwitchCon San Diego, there's a Pokimane brand new BMW outside of the hotel I'm at, and it's like got her face all over it. And I'm like, holy shit, she's huge. Like I had no fucking clue. And she was the sweetest person that I met at the event because she just talked to me like I was a human being. And I wanted to carry that mentality from being just a human being when I came on Twitch, carry that personality throughout like the entirety of it, right? So like when I talk to people that are bigger or smaller, I'm not going to change who I am to adjust and adapt to the conversation. I'm just going to be myself, like unexplainably or unapologetically, and I'm going to carry it through. And I think that's why I get along with people like you, is because you don't give a shit about that. You obviously don't care about that because at your core you're a human, and you have two hands, you have feet, and you play video games with your hands, right?
Two dicks.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to humanize Twitch because I think it's so fucking robotic in a sense, and it's cool. It's cool to have a human, like a literal fucking human conversation, rather than it just being like. I live in Austin, Texas, and I live. That's where I primarily live. I'm in New York right now, and I remember my first like month of being there. People were like, "Oh, how many subs do you have? What's your viewer count like? How big is your YouTube? How many what's your average viewership?" And I'd be like, I think at the time, Anita, I had like maybe 30 viewers, and I was like, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, who the fuck cares?
Mm-hmm.
And there was one person who I'm not going to say who it was because he is nice. And he's considered a bigger streamer. He was like, who are you again? And I was like, you know who I am. Like, we've met each other on several occasions. Like, I watched you try to fuck a girl at a club one time and you failed horribly. And I'll never forget that. And I was like, who the fuck are you? And he was like taken back a little bit. Like he kind of just like stepped back a little bit and he was like, Jesus Christ, you know? He like took it in. And yeah. So I can be a little too honest sometimes. So I have to watch how I do things on Twitch or else I can hurt people's feelings because they're very fragile. That's what I noticed. Yeah.
My interactions with other streamers have been tentative. When I first got thrown in all this, I didn't know what any of it meant. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. I didn't really understand it. But yeah, I noticed the kind of cringy, hyper number focused currency. But one of the things I noticed as well, was that I was terrified of having a bad social interaction. I was meeting, hugging, standing around with, talking to thousands of people every day for 4 days, getting no sleep, trying not to have anything bad happen to me while I network, because networking is scary when it's all drink focused. All of these sponsors who want to schmooze you buy you drinks and slip a card in your pocket and go like, remember me? And it's like, you're buying me a drink. How do you think that's going to work out? But like, yeah, so I there is no mental energy to remember people's names, and it becomes a blur, and it's scary because you want to be personal with people, you want to appreciate people for all kinds of reasons, because you admire them as a streamer, or because these people have given you their time, they watch you, they hang out with you, you want to remember everything they said to you. But there was more data being fed to me in those 4 days than I had in the past 5 years. And it was overload. And I was so scared of putting a foot wrong or having a bad social interaction, because I was like, all of these people have this image of me that's perfect and kind and lovely. And if I like burp or fart or like stumble or forget a name, or like, I will disillusion them and shatter their idea of me. And there's this pressure to be like amazing because everyone's expecting you to be an entertainer. They're like, I love you. You do that thing. Could you do that thing again? And I'm like, what? When my nervous system fails?
Can I market and publicize that by any chance? Can we make some money off this?
Yeah, like, and it's scary. I think it's a really common thing amongst streamers and YouTubers I found, is that you get this imposter syndrome where you don't believe you deserve to be there, and then when you figure out just how much of a dork you are, they're going to forget you and leave you. But also that there's this pressure to be amazing because people build you up in their heads, and then they finally get to meet you. And when someone paid for a ticket from all the way across the world just to shake your hand, you feel this pressure to make that moment awesome for them. And you don't know how, because you don't feel anywhere near as awesome as these people are making you out to be. And it's a hard thing to balance. And it's I think one of the biggest and scariest things I've faced as a streamer, to be honest.
When did you have to deal with imposter syndrome? Because I'm assuming you've already gone through that phase.
Oh, it's not phase for me. I literally turn to my viewers every day and go, why the fuck are you still here? 21 month sub.
Wow.
What are you doing with your life? I've wasted so much of your time.
Yeah. 21 months. That's a long-term commitment. I haven't been in a relationship past 20 months, so it's kind of that's wild. I mean, I think it's absolutely insane.
Find the clitoris, bitch. Sorry.
That's all right. No, you're fine. I'm getting after talking to you a little bit more, I'm actually getting more comfortable just like accepting your tics and then not reacting to them. Yeah. But I think it's really cool that you have this perspective about everything, honestly. I really do. And I really do appreciate you coming here too. I wanted to ask you one thing too, Anita. Not one thing. This whole thing has been questions, but what was your life like before you came on Twitch?
So, I was homeless. I cared for my mom. I was in and out of education, mostly out of it. I struggled, couldn't find a job. Really struggled socially because I only dared to get out of the house after my diagnosis, really. I focused more on animals than people, and when I started doing rescue work, I started to very awkwardly, rather clumsily, start to try and be a friend and have conversations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started building my business. I'd come out of a really bad situation of domestic violence for a few years. I was rebuilding my life. I was just kind of like really struggling, really struggling to get by, just to fucking survive and keep my mom afloat and my animals. Like I was giving everything of myself to them, and then whatever was left over, I was working on building a business online, so that I didn't have to try and convince an employer that it's worth tolerating the spanking. So yeah, it was a struggle, and gaming was an outlet, and I never expected it would be uh, uh, like such a U-turn in my
Yeah.
quality of life. And now, I live in really decent, safe place. I can confidently provide for my animals and my mom. I'm getting private healthcare. The only reason why she's alive now is because of that.
No shit.
Yeah, so thanks to Twitch, I still have a mom. Thanks to Twitch, I have like a chance to make the difference I've always dreamed of. And yeah, so it's a complete and utter day and night compared to what everything was before. There were times where I'd go like 2 or 3 weeks without any food. I'd be starving. Once I found 20p on the floor and bought a bag of apples and rationed one apple a day for a week and didn't have enough apples for the entire week. Like my
Jesus
life was
Christ.
fucking shit.
You were like legitimately homeless at one point.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in a tree for a while. I made a video about that because nobody believed me.
Yeah.
It was like, here's the photos. But I lived in a tree for a while. My mom got progressively more and more disabled, and this meant that our house fell apart and we had nowhere to go. Yeah, there were some really dark times, and yeah, everything's infinitely better now.
I had no idea. I had no idea that that was your life before. I think a lot of people just assume what your life is today and then think like you lived a great life before this. You know, they and that's the thing is like I think that's amazing that you pulled yourself up. So like gaming for you, what was the games that you kind of grew up on?
So I had a SNES.
SNES?
Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, okay. I've never heard it be called SNES before.
So I played a lot of Mario and Zelda and things like that.
Mhm.
I also played PS1. I loved Wipeout, all the Tenchu
Oh, I
games. Oh my god,
fucking
I
love
loved.
Wipeout.
Yeah. And Crash Bandicoot. Oh my god, Crash Bandicoot. And then I only really started playing multiplayer online games competitively on console. It was Uncharted and Uncharted 2, and then The Last of Us multiplayer online. Those were where I really started to interact with people for the first time while gaming. And then I shifted to the PC because I wanted to spend time with my ex. I was like, you're staring at a screen and I want you to be staring at me. How do I make this work? So rather than be one of those people that nags people to get off games, because I hated those people growing up, because I wanted to play games. I got into the game that he was playing. And without him, I probably wouldn't have found Overwatch and therefore Twitch. So
no shit. Are you the type of person to have good, like, clean breakups or bad breakups with people?
So it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I've parted ways with people really amicably and really been grateful for the relationship and the lessons learned and the cool moments we had rather than the way it ended. I tend not to define relationships by the ending with anyone, friendships, family, anything, because everyone you ever know and love will leave you. Either you'll die or they'll leave you. Like that's it. That's the only two things that will ever happen. So if you define every moment you have with people by how it ended, you'll hate every moment of your life that included other people because you'll resent them. So rather than resent 6 years of my life, I tend to prefer to look kindly upon the people I used to be with. And with that ex in particular, he wasn't the abusive one. I don't talk to that one anymore. But that ex, I messaged him after I started streaming. Oh no, he messaged me. He's like, by the way, I saw that you're on Twitch. Well, fucking done. I was like, yeah. And I said, I still have that hoodie you gave me. We had like a really fun conversation. The dude cheated on me, stole $8,000 from me. Like he fucked me over really hard. But like I still had a really beautiful life with him for like so many years before it ended. And yeah, I think losing sight of that is to lose those years of your life. So I am a very amicable person when possible.
I try my best to go for amicable breakups. I think it's very unhealthy to have bad breakups, and obviously, like you said, I take it for the experience at what it was, and it just gets better and better over time. You said, what about the 8,000?
Mm-hmm. So he did it in a couple of ways. He would ask me to pay towards the rent, spend it on himself and substances, and then say, you better pay me it again, because if you don't, we'll be homeless. And so I was getting into debt and into an overdraft, and I was really struggling. And when I set up my own business, he insisted in being a part of it. He'd come into my office and just like siphon money off the PayPal for his own stuff.
Fuck.
Things like that. So yeah, it ended up amounting to $8,000. Yeah.
I had to without getting into much detail, one of the, someone I dated had a gambling problem, like a very severe gambling problem, and they were at a point where they could not pay their rent. And this story I actually haven't even talked about this on stream before, but they asked me if they could borrow $3,000, and it's $3,000 is a lot of money, I think, you know, especially like for anyone, I would think anyone who isn't a fucking millionaire. And so I lent her $3,000, and she had taken 500 of the 3,000 and gambled it. And she had been going through like depression and anxiety and things like that for the past few months and such. And so she took the $500, supposedly 500 out of the 3,000, and gambled it, and won $25,000. And then sent me a text and said, "Now, by the way, now I have no worries about money, and my debt is gone, and I can pay you back, and I can also focus on your depression now that my issues are gone." And I was like, how fucking dare you? I was like, how dare you? First off, take the money that I gave you to pay for your rent, to gamble it, win money, and then for the past few weeks, ignore and deprive my depression to only say I can now be available for your depression. So I've been through a very emotionally abusive relationship before, and it was very fucked up. And it's not fair at all for anyone to have to go through that shit. But I think it definitely does at the end, the light at the end of the tunnel. It's a little bit more inclusive, and I think you come out on top from it. And look at you definitely came out on top from your experience as well.
So. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I had a choice except to navigate all this stuff. I mean, It's not like you can just go sit down and go, I quit, I need a day off. Life doesn't give you days off.
No.
But
no, it doesn't.
Yeah, I didn't get to choose my backstory. I didn't get to choose the stuff that happened to me. I'm just really glad that it didn't define me.
What were some of the most difficult lessons you learned while you were homeless, besides obviously being homeless? Because that's I didn't know homelessness was like an issue as much as it is in the UK. It seems to be pretty prevalent though.
Yeah, and it'll get worse now. We're gonna face a 20% recession. Nobody's ever faced a recession that big. It's gonna be awful. But yeah, there's a homelessness problem here, and it comes from loads of different angles. People are really misguided about it. They blame immigrants stealing jobs, but the only jobs that people tend to give immigrants are the ones that people think they're too good for here. And it's if you want to risk your life to harvest clams, then you're more than welcome to, buddy. You can do it for like less than minimum wage. No, what the fuck are you talking about?
That is why is the UK so similar to the United States with that like standpoint? Because the people that say that shit in America are the ones who roll around on electronic scooters and eat fucking McDonald's and drink Mountain Dew 40 times a day. And they're the ones living off the government and all that shit. They're the ones who say things like that. The foreigners are taking our jobs and shit. I didn't realize that was like the same exact fucking thing in the UK.
Well, here in the UK, I think a lot of people intentionally make assumptions like that. They generalize. It's easy to blame a marginalized group rather than to take on the actual issue.
Right.
Like you'll find in any kind of country where there's an economic kind of failing, when things are like getting more restricted, the first thing that happens in society is they turn on a marginalized group and blame them. When a war is lost, when there's a recession or whatever, suddenly the racism skyrockets.
Yeah.
It's a really direct correlation.
Yeah.
And you can see it in India. In India, they went on a mass rampage and rage and just like started beating up northern Indian people in southern India. in the streets saying you're taking our jobs. Like, that's why life is bad, because you're taking our jobs. And it had nothing to do with that. So like, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. This is a very common and familiar thing. But the truth of the matter is so much more complex than that. So for example, there are a lot of veterans who end up on the streets.
Okay.
Go, oh, they're helping asylum seekers and illegals and giving them houses, and they're leaving our veterans to die on the streets. And what's actually happening is that the veterans have mental health issues alongside it. So there are plenty of veterans who get assistance, who get help, who have a really comfortable life after war. But there are also the ones that have so much PTSD, and they end up becoming either abusive in the home and get kicked out of it, turn to drugs to cope, these sorts of things. And in this situation where there's social issues, addictions and stuff, and behavioral issues that arise from the trauma, it's almost impossible to house them because they don't stick to the rules. Like, if there's no drugs allowed in the hostel, they'll take drugs in and get kicked out over and over again. And these sorts of issues are not being approached. Mental health is an underfunded and underfocused part of the UK, the UK problem with homelessness. A lot of the people are not people who are too lazy to get a job. They're people who aren't neurotypical, people who struggle and aren't being given the help they need. And the thing is, I don't see these people as a drain on society when we give them benefits and housing. I see it as giving them a platform to contribute in their own way. I mean, I'm technically disabled, very disabled. I mean, my Tourette's is so severe, it's hard to even cook for myself without smashing a window. But I also have a disorder, an autoimmune disorder. I puke all the time. I'm tired. I'm like really exhausted and everything, right? So basically, me getting a job is really unrealistic, right?
Yeah.
But I've still found a way to contribute. I pay a fuck ton of taxes, And this like, I feel like it's not a drain or bad to give people benefits if it's a way for them to have a platform from which to contribute. I was on benefits for most of my life. I've more than paid back for that now. And so I kind of feel like if people understood the issue, they'd be able to put a lot of social backing behind real solutions that could help veterans. Because blaming people with a darker skin color is actually not going to solve a thing. And I kind of feel like, I feel bad that it's an issue, and I saw it first person, homeless, that people have no clue how to help us. People have no clue what's going on, and we don't have a platform. We don't have the internet. We don't have, well-spoken homeless people who have PR experience to kind of really put forward the issue in a very, cohesive way that actually... where people understand what's going on. We don't have like a representative who's speaking on our behalf to the public. And so all of the things that led us to get there that people could help with become invisible. And for me, it was that I was a child, home educated, because of my Tourette's syndrome, went undiagnosed for years. And because pediatricians diagnose Tourette's syndrome, not doctors. Doctors rarely ever see Tourette's syndrome. Because it's mostly the onset is in childhood. So as an adult, you don't seek treatment for it. You've had it for years. You understand you have it. You don't need a diagnosis, whatever. So most doctors never diagnose Tourette's syndrome. And so because I never saw a pediatrician in my 20s, it was really hard to get a diagnosis. So basically that was going on for me whilst my mom is slowly dying of a disease that could have been cured with a tablet 20 years ago. But because people don't believe women when they say they have chronic pain, the average diagnosis time for a woman who reports chronic pain could be up to 10 years. And by comparison, when a dude reports chronic pain, they can be in A&E within the hour. And so there's a huge disparity between how we treat women and men. And this means that even though she reported very clear signs of a very easily diagnosed illness, it was left to the point where it caused her to have severe brain, heart, and lung damage. And I was left caring for her because they didn't believe her. They never diagnosed her. And because they never diagnosed her, she couldn't get benefits for being disabled. And so I was left caring for her, and we had no funding and assistance. And this is how we were failed by the system. And so these sorts of things meant that I went hungry. I really struggled. I never had an education. Without a diagnosis, people punished me. So school was just not possible. And so, from this perspective, my life fell apart, where some very simple things in our infrastructure could have saved us, could have given me a childhood, could have given my mom a healthy adult life where she could have contributed to society. And instead, we're on the fucking streets. Instead we were like struggling to find food instead of actually having a chance to do anything real and meaningful. We don't just fail the homeless when we let these situations arise. We fail our entire society, because how many Einsteins have been lost to poverty?
Yeah.
You know, how many talented, intelligent people who could have contributed and pushed society and science forward been lost to this system that fucks us. It's not just us and our sad stories, it's all of us who lose out.
That was wonderfully said, by the way. that was spoken like someone who has definitely been through it before. That was beautiful. Anita, tell me one of your biggest flaws outside of you calling out simps and making fun of them. And then I want to hear a strength as well.
I have no concept of time, and it's my poor mods. So like we agree on 3 hours, and like 4 hours later I'm like, oh, look at the time, whoops, I better end the stream now, and then I'll forget that I even said that and go for another fucking hour. And then just like, oh, kill me.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not trying to be selfish or anything. I literally learned to read the time when I was like 13, 14. I was late with that one. It's just like I'm just dumb. It's
that's I mean, that's a good thing for them and your audience, but bad for you. Yeah.
Incidentally, I will say, like, as you grow, Joe, I can't recommend enough, pay your mods.
Yeah.
I've been saying it to everyone, pay your mods. Pay your fucking mods. They give you their time. They give you their energy. You know, they dedicate themselves to creating a safe place for you and everyone who interacts with you. These people are saints. They deserve recognition. It is hard work. It is really taxing. It is really challenging. It can disillusion you. It can make you hate people. It is such a bullshit job. I don't think anyone should be made to do it for free if they don't have to. What I've done is I've given all of my ad revenue. Like, so you get like as a streamer, I don't know if chat knows this, but you get this breakdown of how much you earned in ad revenue, subs, donations. It's all broken down in separate tiers on your dashboard, right? And you get one compartment that is ad rev. Can't recommend enough. Once you get to a certain size, split your ad rev. Just give it to them instead, because that's not like something like all of you're still getting your support, your donations and tips. It's inconsequential, really. It just gives them some recognition and some compensation for that time.
Anita, to be totally honest with you, I already intended on doing that if I ever did grow. I really did. I was like, I think it's only fair, because these people are like, they become like some of the greatest people I've met. You know, like, you know, they're so loyal. They're like very like enthusiastic about what I do. They're very encouraging, and like I truly believe that like I should share my success with them too. So I totally agree with you. And I was, if the day ever happens where I do get a chance to actually like pop off, you know, and get those cool things and all that fun stuff, then I'm gonna share it with the people that are close to me. Why wouldn't I? You know?
Yeah, hell yeah. It's not the moral default among Twitch streamers. I
No.
know bigger streamers than me who don't even fucking pay their mods, and I think, what?
Yeah.
It's literally not going to downgrade your quality of life whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be fine. You're still going to have enough food, and you're going to still make rent if you know. And as well, jobs are going to be harder and harder to get after COVID.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So giving people these opportunities is important.
And just like a little bit of help can really go a long ways too. Yeah.
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 Totally.
And then, so, would you say that's one of your strengths?
Well, paying mods. We can go with that if you like.
No. I want to hear like a personal strength of yours. Besides, I mean, if I could list off a few, but I'd probably be called a simp. But you're very you're a very strong, talented, independent woman, and you are very well spoken and respectful. So that's what I would say about you. And then you can say what you want to say.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I'm okay with taking credit for, it's really hard to just sit there and like, I get a first person view of all the times I fall over flat on my face and shit. I feel dorky. It's hard to sit there and toot your own horn when you know all your own flaws. Yeah. But I'm really glad that I developed an early mindset that where I see challenges instead of reasons to mope or pity myself.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not waited for life to be perfect to be happy, because there's always going to be stuff that isn't perfect. There's always going to be things to improve. That's why millionaires still cry at night and still have problems. That's why money doesn't buy happiness, because there is always something to fix. There's always something to make better. If you see that as a reason not to be happy, you'll never be happy.
Some of the saddest people I've met in my life are wealthy.
Lottery winners and stuff. You hear so many dark stories about lottery winners.
I mean, even like the loan. I guess even like speaking endemically about Twitch and such. Even some of the people that are very well known, that have a lot of attention, that make great money, the depression factor is massive, and it really fucks them up. The minute that stream turns off, it's back to feeling like shit. It's back to being hard on yourself. It's back to saying I could have done more. I mean, there's times when I end stream and I'm like, well, I feel like I didn't accomplish anything today. So you know what I've been doing lately, Anita, is I bought a Kindle, like a Kindle book reading thing, and I've been reading a book, and I've been doing that, and I've been learning Arabic. So like I've been trying to like keep myself educated in some sense of the way of just trying my best to like stay motivated outside of like my only motivation of streaming. So I'm 30 as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really good time to learn a language. I think that's such a smart move, because it staves off dementia. It keeps your brain really healthy into old age, to keep challenging it and keep learning. So like, I know we're not old, and 30 is the new 20 and all that, but like it's still a really important time to be learning new skills. I think that's fucking spot on.
Yeah, and I think we need to, because like I feel like I'm at points. I feel like I'm fucking drifting away. Like I'm disassociating from like my noggin. You know what I mean? Like and it I don't know. It's a very stressful environment. I don't think enough people acknowledge the stress that comes along with being like a creator on a platform like this, or any other platform for that matter. So
it's definitely a platform that rewards overworking and burnout.
This does, yeah.
Because like it's a job that is so many jobs at once, and it's scary and it's unpredictable and sometimes completely out of your control, but you still have all of the blame and accountability. It's a really hard place to make a place for yourself, and I think that I love Dr. K for that, because he's like providing something really needed.
I love what he does. Yeah, I've become a big fan of him. Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. Sultan Rajab said I donated £850 so she can get a new microphone. She probably gave it to her mods. Lol.
I don't give donations to my mods, but also like I really appreciate that, but at the same time, like it takes me a long time to get around to things that are non-urgent, because I'm looking after my mom, I'm looking after rescues, and there's so much I have to get done in a day that I can't just do things instantly. So yeah, I get people who throw money at me and then pressure me to do things with it. They're like, I've paid you, now you have to do this thing. And it's really stressful, because whilst I appreciate it and I don't want to feel ungrateful, I also don't necessarily have the time to do everything that people demand of me. And people try to buy my friendship too. And I buy that we're close to me, and then get really disappointed and angry and resentful if I don't like hang out with them all the time, become their best bud.
Fucking sucks. The fuck.
So I hope you'll be patient with me, dude. I'm sure I'll get around to replacing my mic at some point, and I still appreciate it, but I hope you can understand I'm busy as fuck.
Wait, I want to know about your rescues. What, you said you have you're rescuing animals currently?
Yeah, I always do. I always have. I mean, the most I've ever had is 200. But
what?
Yeah, my life was just moving poo. It was just changing cages, and but like I do wildlife rescue and rehabilitation, as well as fostering and adopting domesticated animals, and I've always done it. Like ever since I, as a little kid, had that rabbit in my coat, I've never stopped. And so I've had times where I've had baby birds and stuff, and I've needed to feed them every few hours. So whilst I've been streaming, I've had to go and stop and whip out a baby bird and just like feed them with a syringe and be like, okay, back to what I was doing. Like I don't let streaming stop me, because I feel like it's the most important thing I could ever do. I mean, the way that we touch lives is a way to be big, because no one's going to care what shoes you wore. No one's going to care that you had a mustache or remember your face or name. In 100 years, you'll disappear.
Yeah.
Like, there won't be any trace of you. Very few people ever leave a stamp on history, ever. But you can, the footprint of your actions can last for thousands of years in other ways. For example, all the shit and plastic and stuff you put in the sea will outlast you by thousands of years.
Yeah.
But I don't want to amount to plastic. I don't want to amount to a tin can in a landfill. I want my mark to be bigger than that and better than that and cooler than that. So when I rescue animals, and especially wildlife, they have kids who have kids, and there'll be generations of butterflies and foxes and badgers and rabbits and hedgehogs and birds that get to live and love life thousands upon thousands of years into the future because of what I did on one day in my life. And that means so much more to me. That is a way to be big, because I'm small. I'm 5'2". But if we exist in both space and time, my size in the yawning expanse of time is fucking massive in terms of how many lives I got to touch. And that's awesome. That's exactly the kind of mark I want to leave. So yeah, I do. And I have some stick insects that are like the size of my forearm. I have some giant snails that are like the size of my head that needed a home. I have rabbits and mice. And this is the least amount of animals I've ever had in my life, because I've downgraded to give them the most attention possible while streaming. But after streaming, I'll go back to what I was doing before. I'll be running around in fields and, rescuing animals and doing midnight call outs and, rehabilitating really scratchy owls. God damn it. So that's going to be my life after this. I already know what I'm doing.
That was probably one of the most, I feel like one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard someone say before. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I actually, I kind of teared up a little bit. I felt that, because you're so right. You're so fucking right. And I guess it just sucks to hear. It sucks to hear because it's so real. And I've never thought about it like that before. So thank you for sharing that. That was really fucking special. That was really special.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, man. Anita, I'm going to open it up to the chat. I'm sure you'll feel comfortable answering questions if you want. And then if you don't mind, I'm just gonna go get a cup of coffee, and I'll leave it to the chat, and you can read and answer as you please. All right.
Yeah, sure. that little tier system from like 1 to 4 on the toaster was like degrees of toastedness. I did not realize it was minutes for most of my life. When I found that out, I felt so dumb. I was like, of course it's minutes. Chat's learning. Wait, it's minutes? Yeah, it's minutes. What the fuck? I didn't know that, really. Yeah. I feel embarrassed by how long it took me to find that out. Fun. Is there a wild animal that you like to work with most? And if so, what is it that makes them special to you? Rats? I did a lot of, so I worked with a humane pest control company for a while, and that was amazing. So rats are surprisingly intelligent, really, really intelligent. They're emotionally complex, they're capable of metacognition, and in terms of morality, they actually outscore us generally. So like, you can conduct experiments like the Milgram experiment and find out that most humans, by majority, will just kill someone if they're told to, by someone of higher status. But rats, by majority, will act compassionately towards an animal they don't know or another rat, and even share and reserve their treats. When they see another rat in distress, they'll go rescue them, eat their treat, and leave the other one for the person who just went through some shit. So like, learning that they're really cool people, that they're very highly adaptable and inspirational, really made me feel really good about rescuing them, because they're heavily stereotyped. Marketing from pest control companies make them seem like a threat, and they come out with these outlandish claims that aren't true. So I love being like one of the few humans that actually is kind and respectful to them. And I learned something really important from them, which is rats are small, like me, and they don't have a lot of physical power and strength, but they can chew through concrete. And the reason why they can get through a block of concrete and a horse can't is because a rat will chew at it every single day. They just are incredibly persistent. They just don't stop when they want to do something. If you've ever had a pet rat, you'll see it. If they try to jump on the table and you stop them, they'll keep trying and trying and trying all day. They'll never lose hope. And I kind of felt like you can make a big difference and do big things, even if you're really fucking small, if you're just persistent enough, if you just keep trying. And so I love rats. They have a special place in my heart. I mean, I've worked with some pretty cool animals and some really exotic ones, but it's always rats that I love.
I didn't know that about rats. I had no idea.
Yeah, they're really complex. They're actually one of the smartest animals in the UK.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Up there with crows, pigs, and dogs, I believe.
Is there any animals you're afraid of?
Octopus.
Really?
Really badly, but I admire them. I think they're amazing. They have a really beautiful language that is spoken in color on their bodies.
Really?
Yes, they have neurons throughout their entire body, so they process information with every bit of themselves, and sometimes they can have conflicting motivations between their tentacles, and half will be running away from predator while the other half wants the food. So they're really smart, they're really complex, they're social, and yeah, I think if we devote enough time, we'll be able to decipher their language, because it's actually so complicated. It's near impossible for us to understand their color-coded system, but they say stuff. So there may be a day that comes where we can talk to octopus.
Can you tell me what you think to be is, in your opinion, the most interesting animal fact that can come off the top of your head?
I have so many. Some of them are really dark.
No, please. Well, can I read off some interesting animal facts?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Slugs have 4 noses.
Huh. I
know
didn't know that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Did you also know that elephants are the only animals that can't jump?
Makes sense.
Well, I guess do fishes jump?
Yes, they do.
They jump, or is it jumping, or is it like waddling?
No, they jump because they use the momentum to flip themselves out of the water, and also when they're beached and on the land, they flip themselves up as well. That would be considered jumping.
Nearly 3% of the ice in Antarctic glaciers is covered in penguin piss.
Wow.
That's a good fact. I like that fact. Giraffes.
Another good reason not to melt them.
Yeah, another good reason. Yeah. Kangaroos cannot fart.
Wow, that sounds painful. They also have 2 dicks.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm.
Here's an interesting one. Around 50% of orangutans have fractured bones due to falling out of trees on a regular basis.
You'd think after millions of years of evolution, they would have got the hang of it.
Oh, no pun intended, right? Okay. All right. Actually, I want to test you on one of these things, okay? And you're gonna go true or false, okay? What's your favorite animal?
Well, I just said it was rats.
Rats.
Your chat asked me, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ask you questions. You're gonna say true or false, and then we're going to I'm gonna give you a I'm gonna grade you on this, okay? Okay. So without looking at the cheat sheet, which is the internet, okay? True or false? Rats are medium-sized rodents with a long tail. A group of rats is called a mischief.
Yeah, I think that's actually right. I think I've heard that before.
Okay. Rats are mainly nocturnal and live underground.
I've seen them in the day too. I'm gonna say true because they're a prey animal and people don't know shit about rats, so that's probably considered true.
Okay, and I'll let you know whether or not you're right or wrong at the end of the test. Okay. Is it true that throughout human history, rats have traveled with us around the planet? They feed on the food we throw away and spread diseases among humans, like the medieval Black Death.
Okay, so it was actually disproven, and you can Google that. It wasn't rats who spread the Black Death. It was a murine disease, which is spread virally. No, it was viral, not murine. So murine is by fleas, viral is by transmission from person to person. People blamed rats and capitalized on it, and it hasn't been revised in textbooks. But I'm betting you that this misinformed bullshit test probably still thinks it hasn't been disproven because that's not a widely known fact. So for the sake of the test, I'm going to say true.
Okay. Damn! Okay. Rats have super strong teeth that never stop growing. They have to keep nibbling to wear them down.
Yep, that's true.
Their whiskers are more sensitive than human fingertips.
Yeah.
With eyes on either side of their head that can move in opposite directions, rats are even able to see what's happening above them.
Yes, that's true.
Is it true rats can hear well?
Yeah, they're prey animals, of course.
Do rats have 2 penises?
No.
No one is actually true. They do have 2 penises.
No, what? They don't
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. You said that about kangaroos, and I believe... Wait, kangaroos actually have 2 wieners?
I'm pretty sure they do.
That's fucking nuts.
Thing I read. Yeah, unless the thing I read is bullshitting me, I'm pretty sure they do. Ducks have a really long dick as well. It's a giant corkscrew penis.
Wait, hold on a second.
Like, Google a duck dick. It's terrifying.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I can tell you so many weird facts about ducks.
It looks
They're
like
crazy animals.
It looks like a parasite.
It shoots out of them really hard. They can accidentally kill their mate.
No way.
Yeah. And they are known to be necrophiliacs and to pester male mallard ducks when they're really angry as well and bother them sexually. They're just... Some ducks are fucking assholes. Many of them are really loving and will mate for life and be really wholesome and friendly. And then there's the incel ducks who never got chosen during mating season, and they gang up with other incel ducks and comfort each other by, like, you know, pestering and sexually abusing anyone they find. It's horrendous.
Ducks are dickheads.
They can be.
Yeah.
Most ducks, like 2/3 of ducks are cool. It's only 1/3 that turn out like that. You know, only 1/3 turn into incels.
Incel ducks. Wait, is there... Hold on a second. I'll let you know. Okay, so on the test, hold on, let me put on the music for this. Hold on, because I gotta make it. All right, hold on 1 second. This computer's a little slow. Okay, you ready?
Wow. Buy it now.
Anita, on the test of rat facts, out of the 10 questions that I asked you, you passed the entire test. You got a 100% on the test.
Fucking do it. And I even clocked the stuff that I knew they'd get wrong and gave the right answer, even though it's technically the wrong answer.
I have to say, I am very impressed by your rat facts. Very impressed. Now, my favorite animal is a giraffe, though.
Yeah.
Do you have any interesting facts about giraffes that you know?
There's that viral thing where it's like if a giraffe sips a cup of coffee or tea, it's actually cold before it goes all the way to their stomach. Like
really?
By like half, if they sipped a cup of tea, it would the liquid would have cooled by the time it gets halfway down their throat.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a good job they don't like tea. But I've also seen them fight, and it's fucking hilarious. They just have these big floppy necks, and they just whack each other really hard. Yeah, their kids can learn to stand incredibly fast, and if I had those stupid little stilt legs, it would take me months to master walking, and they just do it within hours. It's really impressive.
Have you ever walked on stilts before?
No, incidentally, might be a disaster, seeing as I don't have entire control over my motor function, because either I'll be fine because I'm focused, but I'll end up having a tick where I knock someone the fuck out, or like I'm just gonna like look like a newborn foal on ice skates until I go ass over tit. One of the two.
Aww. That's kind of fun, though. I mean, I've walked on stilts before, and it's embarrassing, because I'm 6'4", so I'm tall and exhausting, and it's fucking hilarious, actually. I did it on a Halloween event. I dressed up as a scarecrow, so I was like a 7-foot scarecrow. Yeah, I hit my head on everything. So cool. Yeah. It was fun.
Tall people problems. I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Well, I kind of wish I was shorter, though, to be honest with you, because like my bones hurt.
Oh.
My body hurts. Yeah. Do you like?
There are perks.
What's that?
There are perks to be small.
What are you like a physically fit person? Do you work out and all that stuff too?
Yeah. I go to the gym. I have a personal trainer. I work out twice a week with my personal trainer, and I do home workouts and I run.
No shit.
Yeah.
You have you always been physically fit, or is that something you started like getting into recently?
So in my early 20s, I did it to get out of my depression because I trusted the neurochemical rebalancing of exercise more than the medications that I was reading about that were available, which had side effects and were not consistently effective. And at the level of depression I was at, I couldn't risk feeling worse.
Yeah.
So I started running, and I got really, really good at running. And I was running every evening, and that was the beginning. I let that slip when I started streaming because I was just glued to my chair. So I started doing personal training, and I couldn't do like one push-up when I started.
Wow.
And now I do like 50 every session.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you probably get this a lot, but you're definitely like an inspiration for a lot of different people. And I think, you know, what you do is really special, and it's definitely like characteristic of who you are and your experiences as a human. And I just wanted to say thank you for again taking the time to hang out with me today. I really appreciate you being here with me.
No, it's all. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been amazing.
It's been cool. It's been really cool getting to know you. And I hope we can play more games together, and maybe I'll see it at a convention if we ever get the chance to leave our fucking houses at all. So.
Yeah, I'd love to buy you a drink sometime.
I'll buy you a drink. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anita, have a great day. It was great talking to you.
You too.
Yeah, take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
I'll see you. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. I'd appreciate that. I also have a Twitch where everything here is filmed live, so feel free to follow me there at twitch.tv/HeyItsJoe, or follow me on Instagram or Twitter in the description below. Thanks.